Triumph's brand new Daytona 660. The bike makes use of a 660cc three-cylinder engine, the triple. Now, Triumph has become well known for its triple engines. It claims, I think with some authority, that you get the bottom end grunt of a twin, coupled with that high end yowl of a four. So it's a very nice compromise in regard to that. We use the engine from the Trident, but completely and utterly revised, top to bottom revised. So it's a starting point, but this bike's got 17% more power than that Trident. Now that's a big jump, 17%. So I'm impressed with that, and I can't wait to push it hard.
Okay, first seat on the Daytona 660. Just going to look at my ride modes. We're in road here. Hopefully you can see that. We have rain and sport modes, which tie into our throttle response and traction control and ABS parameters. So you have those three possibilities. I'm going to go back to, I think I'll stay on road and we'll give sport a go a bit later. Hopefully we won't have to see rain. First idea on this position is pretty good. Feet flat on the ground nicely. It's certainly a canted forward stance, but I think with a bit of wind on the chest that will pull back up. Nicely finished. Very simple kind of dash. I like that. Yes, a clip on, but above the top triple clamp. Now, very important that, yes, anything underneath that triple clamp you're going to feel. It's going to be a bit of pain. So first impression's quite comfortable. Let's see how we go. Now I have to say one of the highlights of this bike is this engine. It's an absolute peach. I suspect a very light flywheel. It spins up really quickly. I'm on the full power version. Of course there's a LAMS version that I will talk about, but the point of the thing is that it makes 80% of its torque between 3,100 revs and the red line. So you always got a bunch of torque on hand. That's kind of a bit of magic, a bit of engineering magic going on there, but it translates on the road to a tractable, usable power band that actually feels like more than 90 kilowatts, and that's basically there in those figures. You've only got to delve into the science a little bit to work out why this bike works well on the road. And it's a sweet spot, 90 kilowatts. It really is. With 201 kilograms on, I can ride this bike pinned hard. I can nail the throttle. I've got traction control up my sleeve. I've got enough power. I've got to ride it well to wring it out, but that's the essence of sports bike riding for me, that you ride well and you can ride it hard and it goes fast. It's a very, very easy equation, and Triumph has absolutely hit the mark in regard to engine characteristics. We've gone 8 kilometres and now we're on a ferry. It's a boat trip. I mean, you'll laugh, you'll cry. Let's see.
Oh, we'll certainly love
I didn't know we were going to... Where are we actually? Does anyone know?
What's that?
Can everyone swim? Can everyone swim? Can you swim? All right. All right.
Autumn doing its beautiful thing over here in Adelaide. Got to be happy with that. I've had a day out here on the Daytona 660, and I have to say I am absolutely in love with that engine. It's a fabulous donk, lots and lots of power, as much as you're ever going to need. This bike falls into a new market segment, as we said, and I think it's going to go smack bang into it. It's got lovely fit and finish, very well put together. Is it going to beat those other bikes? Well, we're going to watch, because that segment, that middleweight sports bike segment is now the hot property. This is a very worthy entry.
I guess there's a price to be paid to some extent for this level of comfort. It's not a madly race-repped sports bike. We've said that, and that is a big plus. We've got comfort, usability, and just user friendliness in general. Well, where the price is paid is I find the bike is slightly reluctant to turn in and tends to understeer ever so slightly. Now that's judging it against a scalpel sports bike, which is probably unfair. The suspension is good, it's soaking up bumps, it's dealing with road impurities, it's never going to be scalpel-like. It's pretty good, but I find you've got to tip the bike in and you've got to keep communicating with it. It's not just going to hold that line, it's going to need some talking to. Now, if you're a good sports bike rider, that's going to be no stress to you. And I actually enjoy that. I want to communicate with the motorcycle, and I've just about had enough of all the tech that is almost removing me from the experience. So it's not entirely a criticism, but you know, it's not all beer and skittles, and it's my job to point out the things that I think that are less than perfect. And I have to say that the handling at the front is just slightly pushy. South Australia is full of these beautiful old sandstone towns. This one's Clarendon. Quite pretty, just pretty. I always enjoy the architecture. I'm a bit of an architecture nut, and I love the architecture throughout South Australia. And that makes me think, now, how does this bike sit into that context? Because I like to do long distance touring. Is it a big ask to ask of a sports bike that long distance touring question? And I think it'd probably pass pretty well. The seating position is such that once you're on the move, the wind does hold you up off the tank quite nicely. And it's certainly not that mad sports bike. Head down, arse up. Valentino Rossi, cop this. I'm going to the chiropractor nightmare that we're used to from leader bikes. So, yeah, could you tour on it? Yes. Do I want to do 800k days? No, but I'd do 4s and 5s.
We had two versions today. We had the full power plus the 42 kilowatt LAMS version.
Now, the LAMS approved Daytona 660 makes 42 kilowatts of power at a fairly low 6750 RPM, but the interesting thing is that there's 62 Newton meters available at 6250. Now, what that tells me is that the power and the torque figure being so close together, that's going to be a fairly flat torque curve, and it is. So yes, it gets a little breathless as you plant it like that, where the full power bike at the top end goes, but in the middle it's almost imperceptible, and that is the truth. I can still ride this bike pretty quick in this sort of stuff, mainly because these are the sorts of roads where torque works. So it is breathless at the top, but by gee, you don't have to pay any penalty being a learner, and that's a big thing, because certain bikes over the years, in order to meet LAMS approval for learners, have been robbed of some really important grunt. This isn't one of them. Yep, there's a new player in middleweight sports bike town, folks. Daytona 660. It's going to get eyes. It's going to get eyes. And it deserves to. It's unique. In the sector, it's the only triple. It's a little different. And vive la différence!
There's a full day riding around the magnificent Adelaide hills and environs on Triumph's new Daytona 660, both versions. The 70 kilowatt full powered version plus the 42 kilowatt learner version, the LAMS version. Now, really wanted to point out how the LAMS version works. You will be up your mate's date on his full power bike, don't worry about it, because it makes all its torque and all its power around that mid 6,000. Now at mid 6,000 RPM, that's where you work a bike in the twisties. So really impressed with the fact that learners won't have to pay a penalty. The engine is an absolute peach. I love triples. I've always loved triples. Triumph make the best triples, and they always have. That tradition continues with the Daytona 660. Fit and finish is gorgeous, really nice. Nice austere cockpit. I like that. It feels like a sports bike. I feel like the front ends are slightly pushy. There's a slight understeer there, and you're going to pay that penalty when you build a sports bike that's comfortable. So, new player in the middleweight growth sector. Let's see how the Daytona goes. This fucking thing.